guess firstly give us a bit about yourself. How did you get involved in wheelchair rugby league?
Yeah, so I got involved back in 2014 when I got my condition called chronic fatigue syndrome. Basically, I've got if I overwork it, I can get fatigued a lot easier. And basically, if I overwork myself too much, I'll get chronic pain. So I have to take like a bunch of medications to get that sorted. It's just like a lot of pain relief. So I got involved then after being like, when I first got my condition back when I was like 11, I actually I was like bedridden for 18 months with like chronic pain, so doctors couldn't do much about it, especially because we didn't know what it was until about like 6 to 12 months later, where they actually finally got a diagnosis, and because it was passed down from my father, even though they say it's not hereditary. We don't know how to think about it because opinions are all sorts, with it still being quite unknown as a condition. So I started off at Halifax back in 2014, started getting involved, and I went for a try session in evening time, and I've been playing the sport and with Halifax ever since, really. So yeah, that's basically how I got pretty much into it.
And just touch on, obviously, when you found out about your condition there, what was that like for you, I guess, and then maybe how does that affect you? Because obviously, if you fatigue quicker playing sport, that obviously must have some implications there for you.
Yeah, it definitely does. I was a lot worse for my fatigue-wise. When I first started playing, I couldn't do more than, I think, 10-15 minutes of a training session before. But over the years, I basically built up like the fatigue, so I have more. I'm trying to think of the word I'm looking for. It's like more. Basically, I've improved it a lot more, so I don't get fatigued as easily. And obviously, at first, it was like a bit of a shock thing, really, because obviously, I'd had back in my high school when I first went there, or like in primary school, I had a few people that I knew with disabilities, and never looked down on them at all, because it's end of the day, you can't. It's no point. Everyone's normal in their own way, to a sense. So it felt quite weird being in that situation, especially because I didn't know anything about this condition or that my father had it until I got basically told by my mum. It was a very difficult process to get through, because with being bedridden for 18 months, I was staring at like the same four walls, waking up, going to sleep, barely in my room. I needed help to go to the toilet. I was using a walking frame to get around because I couldn't walk either. Because the amount of time that I was bedridden, the muscle in my legs basically just deteriorated over time because I weren't getting any exercise. So I had to basically relearn how to walk all over again, and I've gone from a walking frame to crutches, and now I'm using a walking stick to get around, and still trying to work to make sure that I don't have to use that walking stick again. But it's still quite difficult on days, especially like these where we're training like 7 till 5 sometimes, and then not actually going to sleep until about like 10 o'clock at night, which either way I try not to think about. I distract myself with how much work we're doing here and with the preparation for the World Cup. So.
And after all that, after you've experienced all that, wheelchair rugby league must have come and been a real outlet for you.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely helped boost my morale and my spirits up. So it was definitely something that actually gave me like a strength and also a reason to try to get better, to a sense, and try and get out the house and get out of my room. So it was good, especially with all the people I met, like Jack, Wayne, so many other people that I knew about their stories, and especially some people that I've known that have retired from the sport now. Their stories, it just showed that they've been worse off than me, and yet they're still going with their lives. So I mean, it was great to see that, and it gave me a reason to try and get better every day.
And within the England camp, and you've mentioned across wheelchair rugby league, generally there's a lot of interesting backstories, very different backstories. Does that kind of pull you together as a squad a little bit more than maybe your generic men's squad or your women's squad?
Yeah, I know with like the wheelchair side, we all have similar, like some people could have similar stories, and it brings us together. But it's like it brings us together because we play against each other in league. We always have a good laugh. The disabilities we don't really talk about as much, to be honest. If it props up, it props up. But we're all one team. End of the day, whether we're disabled or not, we all just see each other as one team instead of individuals who may have a disability or don't.
And let's talk about your wheelchair rugby league career. Obviously flying on a high at the moment, 5 tries in a wheelchair grand final. How's your career developed?
Yeah, like looking back from 2019 when I first came into the England squad, I played in the Tri-Nations and I barely got my hand in the ball, I barely did much, and say now I'm currently going to be playing in a World Cup, which is 25 days away until the Australia game. It's amazing. So I mean, it's my first World Cup, and see how much I've progressed over that time. It's surreal really, and I think I look back on that grand final, 5 tries, and it was good. It was very nice to win that grand final, but it's all about the people who set up those tries as well. Like, you know, Seb and Jeremy Bosson from France set those tries up for me, so that's the reason why I got my 5 tries.
And scoring 5 tries in a wheelchair grand final is a massive jump from being bedridden for 18 months. How does it feel for you when you kind of think about that journey you've been on?
It's definitely a bit weird compared to like how I look back on it, and I think I'm happy that I got through that stage, but at the same time I've also got in the back of my mind there is people that are in the same situation that I was, so it's about if I can try and broaden like the game and promote it to people not just with my condition but with other conditions or disabilities that are in the same situation or other stuff, then at least it can give them a bit of strength to say, look, I want to do that, I want to play this, and I want to do what they're doing. I mean, that's the best part. If we can get more people playing, especially people that felt like me, where they're down, the mental health is not getting the best because they're in this situation. As long as this is basically the light at the end of the tunnel, I mean, it's perfect. Especially with it being broadcasted, it makes it even better.
And just finally, what does representing your country, representing England mean to you?
Everything to me. I know I've got a lot of family and friends that have watched the past few games that have been televised, and they've never seen the sport before, and then they've watched it and like, wow, what, I love this sport, and that's what we want. It's a big thing, not just for me but my family as well, and everyone I know. It's a very big honour for them, and yeah, it's very mental, and especially it's first World Cup. It's definitely going to be one that I'm going to remember.
And chances of winning it, what would it mean to lift that trophy at the end of it? I
mean, we've got everything. We've got the players, we've got the skill that we need, and it'd mean everything. It's definitely another memory, and especially it'd be my first World Cup to play in, and if we finish that off with winning it as well, that's even better.